If you are an estate agent, letting agent, or someone who is interested in the property market, then the UK Property Market Stats Show, is for you. My name is Chris Watkin. Each week I'm joined by a special guest. This week it is Toby Martin. We'll come to the wonderful Toby in a second. So, why should you be watching this show? Well, the British are obsessed with the property market. Whenever the Land Registry chuck out some figures, it's always front page news. Whenever the Halifax or Nationwide chuck out some data, it's always front page news. Why? Because the British are obsessed with the property market. The thing is, though, ladies and gentlemen, the Land Registry are looking at data from 10 months ago, sales that were agreed 9 or 10 months ago. The Halifax and Nationwide looking at sales that took place 2 or 3 months ago. Ladies and gentlemen, we're looking at last week. And therefore, if you are into your property data and you want to know what's happening to get an inside track, then this is the show for you. This week, we are looking at week 32 of 2025, which is, just pulling up my calendar, Monday, the 11th of August, all the way through to Sunday, the 17th of August. We'll be comparing week 32 with other week 32s going back to 2017, and we'll also be looking at the year-to-date figures. This week, I'm joined by Toby Martin. Toby Martin is a lettings consultant, guru, all-round top guy, and he helps letting and estate agencies grow their businesses. What he doesn't know about a lettings business and property isn't worth knowing. Toby, thanks for joining us this week.
What a pleasure. It's a great honour to be here. Looking forward to diving into some wonderful stats. Week 32 already. I am one of those thousands of people who is very much looking forward to week 35 when children have gone back to school. But until then, I am holed up in my spare room hoping that I don't get disturbed by the kids.
Well, fingers crossed on that one. And again, it's not too far away till week 51. Week 51 being the week that Christmas is, so the Cadbury's cream eggs can come out. Can you believe it? We're not even saying the C word, we're saying the E word. Unbelievable. It's gone flying. Okay, but without further ado, let's crack on. So for those of you who have not watched the show before, it'll last approximately an hour. It depends on how long myself and Toby rattle on for. It is roughly split up into 2 sections. The first section looks at the UK property market, where we start off with listings, price reductions, sales agreed, fall-throughs, net sales exchanges. And then we will then move on and look at the second part of the show, where we focus on a town or a city. And we will deep dive and really find out who is the best estate and letting agent in that town or city. Now, if you are from that town or city, you will be fascinated by that because it's an independent review of who is the best agent in that town. That town this week is Bournemouth. Actually, it might even be a city. Apologies if I think... do you actually know? Is it a town or a city?
Well, I think you've upgraded it there. I think it's a town. The marker is whether it has a cathedral, isn't it? Bournemouth Cathedral doesn't ring any bells, but if I've offended a lot of people there, then I'm equally apologetic.
Well, if at a church, it certainly hope it would ring some bells. But I've just been informed by senior authority, my producer, aka senior management, aka the wife, that it is a town. I tell you what, though, if you actually look at the stats, it is a massive place, my friend. I don't know if you've ever been, and it does kind of merge into Poole as well, which again is a separate town, but it is an absolutely massive place. Have you ever been?
Yeah, well, it's kind of, I've mentioned the school summer holidays. It's very much summer holiday territory. Bournemouth, Poole, the Jurassic Coast, Dorset in particular. So yeah, I'm familiar with the area. It is a big place. So I'm expecting to see a lot of activity. I'll be very interested when we get around to that to see.
Indeed. Now, if you're not from Bournemouth, you might want to switch off. However, if you're an estate agent who's doing a cracking job in your town, and you're being beaten by cheap fees or overvaluing by your competitors, we're going to be using a bit of kit that actually proves, this is subject to you actually being as good as you think you are, that you are a better estate agent, and therefore give you cold, hard data to prove to homeowners that you are the better agent in numbers that homeowners will recognize to prove your value as an agent. So, watch that part of the show and see if you do like the bit of kit that we're going to be using. You can actually get yourself, and there is actually a free version as well. But anyway, more of that later. So without further ado, let us dive in and go and look at those Stallaroonies for the UK property market. Here we go. So just confirm, you should be able to see the graph there, Toby. Please just give me a thumbs up. Awesome.
Bright and clear.
Beautiful. So what normally happens is I just ramble on for about a minute, and then Toby will come in and give his thoughts. Okay. So let's just go and look at the stats. So this week we have put on 32,238 properties, which is comparable, as you can see on the graph there, apart from 2020, a very sort of similar time of year where the number of houses are coming on the market. Last week it was 32,710, and the week before it was 33,684, and it shows it better in this graph here. So the white line is 25, the red line is 24, and the yellow line is 23, and so on and so forth. So you can see here that in 2024 the number of listings was slightly high. It was 34,285, and again, just in case you all have a panic or get the champagne out, can I just remind you, ladies and gentlemen, that in 2 weeks' time you will have an uplift in your numbers, because that's what happens the week before the bank holiday weekend, and then the dip down is the week after the bank holiday. So just heads up, ladies and gentlemen, before that's what is going to be happening. And isn't it amazing how it just the pattern always is the same? It's just whether you're at the top, middle, or bottom, Toby.
It's wonderfully consistent, isn't it? And that there should be no doubt in well, whether you're an agent or whether you're a member of the public who's looking at selling or buying, you can have a lot of confidence in the property market, and that can feed into your plans. And you can see it right there on the screen in front of you. It is identical every year, and this year is no exception. So we all know what's coming down the line.
Indeed. And again, for those of you who have not watched the show before, what tends to happen at the start of the year is it takes off nice and easy, nice and well. And then we always have the 3 dips of Easter, the 2 bank holidays, and then a slight drifting down, a dip down for August bank holiday, and then a drift down to the C word. Okay, so year to date, we are on 1,169,000 listings, which is 3.5% higher than last year at 1.13 million, 7.1% ahead of 17, 18, and 19, which are more normal years, and 11.6% ahead of the 9-year average. Okay, but again, remember 2020 was a low month because year to date we obviously had a period of 2 months where there was no properties coming on the market and no properties selling. So just bear that in mind. That will drag the average down. The average price of a property coming on the market, 396,800. We will be looking at that in a little bit more detail. Anything on listings that you want to say, or is it just boring, dull Groundhog Day?
Never boring, never dull. It is just consistent, isn't it? But that in itself is noteworthy, because I'm going to be interested to see over the remainder of the show. What I'm hoping this will paint a picture of is a market that is quite stable, quite reliable and consistent, that can give both sellers and buyers confidence in the market. So that certainly bears that out so far. It is consistent and it is predictable, and that's what we want, isn't it? We want people to have that confidence and assurance and that predictable nature in the market, so that people have the assurance to bring their home to the market.
You are so right. Ladies and gentlemen, all the graphs are here, are available for you to download. You're watching this on YouTube. If you're listening to this on a podcast, in the write-up, the big write-up, there's a link at the bottom. And if you're watching this on YouTube, there's also a link. If you scroll down to the bottom, there's a link. You can download the graphs. You can use them at your valuations, and you can use them internally. All I do ask is that you don't use them on social media. And the reason I say that is this: my estate agent clients who pay me to write content for them, some of them use this content as part of their package, and it just wouldn't be fair, ladies and gentlemen, if you were using it while someone was actually paying for it. But I don't mind you using them personally. And again, do remember, ladies and gentlemen, is this, and again, this is in a survey of 10,000 vendors from the Property Academy in 2023, and they said 36% of people chose their estate agent based on the agent's local property market knowledge. Well, this is property market knowledge, isn't it? Okay. Again, absolutely shocked. Toby, when I was doing some homework for the show later in Bournemouth, there are people who have got blogs who hadn't put a blog on for 147 weeks and, and,
Dude,
and, and posted and probably posted 6 times this year.
Dude, don't get me started on estate agency blogs because that is amazingly quite a regular thing, quite a regular issue. And it now in the age of AI and ChatGPT and automations, and how is that acceptable? Absolutely not. And one of the things that I'm very what one of my big hobby horses is the importance of establishing yourself as an expert before you even arrive for a market appraisal. And I say it every time I'm on the show. If you're watching this, Chris is very generous in sharing this data and saying that you can use it, even if you're not his client, at things like market appraisals. And so as we go through this, I would just recommend to you that you consider how can you distill this information into some form that is shareable with a client before you even arrive on their doorstep, because doing that is a really powerful thing to do. So do take advantage of what's being shared with you here.
I mean, what you could even do is, hey, you could drop these images into ChatGPT and ask it to come up with a report. I mean, whoa.
You can. This goes out on YouTube, right? On YouTube, there's a feature where you can go onto any YouTube video and there's a button which says show transcript, and it will show the transcript of the whole episode. You can copy and paste that transcript into ChatGPT and ask it to turn it into a script for a client. There's so much you can do. Ask it to turn it into a blog, whatever. Yeah, so much you can do with ChatGPT.
Okay, let's now move on to price reductions. And this is a stat that is in arrears. So we're looking at last month, which was July, and what percentage of the homes that are on the market. So let's pull up the stats now of the homes that are on the market. And it's this one here. So on the 31st of July, going through to the 1st of August, there was 763,178 properties, compared to 715,828 at the end of July, early August 24. And you can see on the graph here, that is the stock levels of the properties at end of 31st of July of every year. So you can see that stock levels are slightly higher, but again, I say most shows, let's remember, that figure was 1.3 million in 2008. So again, don't worry that the stock levels are slightly higher, but they are higher compared to, I mean, just again to give you an idea, as I said, compared to 17, 18 and 19, stock levels, so stock levels, are, as you can see there, are approximate, well, here we go, so that's 763 by 67, so that's, there, stock levels are about 15% higher, listing levels are at 7.1% higher than 17, 18 or 19, but sales, and again, we're going to just skip ahead, are 14.2% ahead. So, so listings are not as much, but stock levels are stock. So the increase in stock is about 15% and the increase in sales is 50. Forget listings, we're looking at just stock. So what that's telling me is this is, yeah, there's more houses on the market, but more houses are selling, but the percentage of houses that are selling, and we'll get to that in a second. Well, actually, no, we'll save that. We'll save that. Are roughly the same. So if if you look back at your sales now compared to what you were doing in 17, 18 and 19, you should have stock levels that are approximately 15% higher and your sales should be 15 or 16% higher. I find it fascinating that agents only compare themselves to last year. We are very short-sighted, aren't we? And we don't play the long game, do we?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. We are short-sighted. We concentrate on the here and now, and that context is fascinating. You can see there in that chart, which goes back to 2017. I think that is adequate context that we are at a high point. We're at a high point in terms of supply, and as you say, it sounds like, I'm sure we'll go into more detail in a minute, that is translating into more sales. But we're in a high supply market, which will come onto that, has a knock-on effect to things like pricing and reductions, and we'll look at that in more detail, I'm sure. But yes, it's crucial to have that context, and when you put it into that context, we are in a high supply market. It's an active market, which is a good thing all round.
Okay, so again, we're getting ahead of ourselves here, but that's the beauty of this show because no one watches the show anyway, so it doesn't really matter. We'll just go along with what we think is appropriate. But again, what we've got here is the red line is the number of exchange stroke completions, And the yellow line, going back to 19, this is because we haven't got data going back past then. And the yellow line is the number of withdrawals. So listings are, stock levels are higher, but so are withdrawn levels. Just look, we've had, last month we had a really good exchange month, but we had a really bad withdrawal month. As you can see here, number of exchanges was just over 80,000, but around 78,000. I don't know the exact, I can't remember the exact numbers, but it's nearest damn it. Houses left estate agency books.
Yeah. Yeah.
And let's just remind ourselves this one, and we will look at this, but this is absolutely shocking. In July, this
is every time I speak to you about Chris, this is my favorite stat. Favorite because it's just so shocking.
Ladies and gentlemen, out of the properties that left estate agents' books in July, we only got paid on 1 in 2.
It's absolutely mind-blowing, isn't it? And I think that as an industry, many of us, I know there's always exceptions, have our head in the sand over this. And imagine standing in the living room of a client and saying, well, you've got a 1 in 2 chance of selling your home with me. We like to think we're much better than that, but the fact is that is in black and white there. That is the average 1 in 2 chance of selling your home.
Okay. Now, if we're in Scotland, that's late 70s. There you go. Okay. If we're in the north of England, that's in the mid 60s. Okay. In London, early 30s.
Oh.
Early 30s. If you're a London estate agent if you're a London homeowner and you put your house on the market, you have a 1 in 3 chance of moving. That's disgusting.
It is. Yep.
Disgusting.
And I'm sure that fingers will be pointed at many reasons for that. People will point at the conveyancing process, but obviously that the chart that you just flicked off there, the exchanges versus withdrawn there, that backs up the fact that this isn't just a conveyancing issue. It's also to do with the service, the pricing. These properties wouldn't be withdrawn from the market.
I mean, here's the
if there wasn't some kind of issue.
I tell you what, we are all over the place today, but nothing wrong with that because that's
let's do that. Yeah,
it is. But let's just look at the number of fall throughs here. So, number of fall throughs 5,817, which is a fall through rate of 23.19. What's the fall through rate? Number of sales agreed, number of fall throughs this week. Fall throughs expressed as a percentage. So if you had 100 sales and you had 23 fall throughs from your pipeline, 23 expressed as a percentage of 100 is 23%. So 23 is okay. We'll just compare that. That's the range. But again, and that's the numbers. As I said this week, what did we say? It was 5,817. But again, I think this is the more important graph on this, and that is the percentage of sales in your pipeline that are falling through each month. And the general trend is a very slight trend downwards. Okay, it isn't much, but it is. That's going back to 2017. So, we are losing. Again, this is a UK average. Most estate agents are losing 5.77% of the sales pipeline. This is units, not value, per month. Okay, so whilst that is still too much, and products like Gazelle and others are available, which are reservation agreements, will certainly bring that down. And again, I get on my high horse. Why the hell are you not instructing solicitors on listing?
Yep.
Do you have an opinion on that?
Oh, I think so. There's certainly things that I think we spoke on last time I was here, and I thought to myself before I came on, I shouldn't cover the same ground again. But do you know what? It's worth doing. And yeah, absolutely, instructing the solicitors at the earliest possible point. I don't understand why more. There is a growing trend, but I think there should be a surge in the use of reservation agreements. I don't see why you wouldn't have that in your armory as an agent to be able to offer that at least. And if you're not doing that, then you are simply choosing to start the whole process later on, make the whole process slower, to give to give less information at the outset of the process when you get an offer. Why would you not want to have done all of that already? It's purely a question of being organized, efficient, and giving your client a better chance of selling the first time around. So why would you not want to do that? I really do think that
I might lose the listing, Toby, because my ego won't take it that I might lose the listing, so I don't put any barriers in the way.
yeah. And how bad are we at avoiding those tricky conversations? At the point of listing, we get tunnel vision, and the only thing we want to concentrate on is securing the listing, getting ink on paper, getting that property on Rightmove. What's the point of getting a property on Rightmove if you're not going to give yourself the best chance of selling it?
Because at least it's got my board outside, and the other agent won't have it.
It's got your board outside. You might have got a little bit of commission for winning the listing, perhaps. Yeah, but these are short-sighted reasons, really. We have to avoid that impulse to get instant gratification, to get immediate wins, because
Yeah,
the long-term picture is so much more valuable to us as agents.
yeah, but if I hit my KPIs, I get a bottle of £6 cover from the area manager.
Maybe a framed certificate as well.
Oh, don't even talk about what off Canva.
Yeah.
Join the queue with the other self-employed estate agents doing Canva Kings. No, right, moving on. Sorry. Here you go. I'm going to come up with some motivational posters. It's changed my life. Sorry, back off the soapbox.
Done 100K in your first year.
Yeah, yeah,
Guaranteed.
100K in pennies. Right. Price reductions, 14.1% of the stock got reduced last month. The average price of a property being reduced was 386,500, and as I said, 20,608, which again, as you say, expressed as a percentage for the month. We are reducing 14.1% of homes, which is near as damn it 1 in 7. Okay, let's move on. Number sale agreeds, which again is something which is obviously a lot of people judge the property market on. And this week we have sold subject to contract 25,085 properties. The average price of a property selling 357. We will do an analysis of the different prices in a second. And year to date, gross sales, we are on 846,300, which is 6.9% ahead of last year and 14% ahead of 17, 18 or 19. And just to give you an idea, that is near as, damn it, just under 50,000 properties that have, well, it's more than 50, it's 55,000 properties. So let's just do a very rough ready reckoner there. You just keep filling, keep filling.
I was just thinking to myself, I have nothing interesting to say about this because it is just wonderfully consistent. We're seeing these are very solid figures. There's nothing dramatic happening in the market about this. There's a little bit of ebb upwards, a little bit of flow downwards, but it does paint this picture of a reliable sales market that both sellers and buyers can come to the market with confidence right now. Because if you're pricing correctly, and we just had a quick look at the reductions chart, and yeah, if you're pricing correctly and you're not having to reduce the price of your property, because as we know that if you have to reduce your property to sell it, then that probably triples, I think, the amount of time it takes to find a buyer. Then you can actually have confidence in this market. Properties are selling. Yes, we've got more properties being listed, but more properties selling as well, and that's what this paints, a reliable market.
Nice filler there. Nice.
Thank you very much.
Right, okay, just to give you an idea, those extra 55,000 properties will be bringing in, I know there'll be a bit of fall through, so we'll do some fall through in a second, £206.2 million into estate agents' pockets on their sales pipeline. Let's do a fall through, okay, and we'll do, there you go, hold on, there we go. So that's going to probably bring us down to about netting about 155 million pounds extra in estate agents' pockets, those extra sales. So you might say, well, 6.9% ahead. Yeah, extra 150 million between us all, which again is nothing to sniff at, nothing
No,
at all.
no.
Sale gross again. Oh, hello. The white line is the number of sales agreed, and you can see here why we are so far ahead in terms of sales agreed. It's good, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah, this is it's a good market, right? This is something that agents and sellers should be excited about, and I don't think that we shout about it enough. Actually, this is a really good year for the market. It's reliable.
yet, as I said, what we have to remember, because again, the wonderful Charlie Wright, Lambdin, sorry, says that we shouldn't be talking about the market. Only one in two houses are actually selling, but ladies, okay. So you can't have it. You can't have all this. Hold on, where is it? You can't have all this and sweetness and light if you don't
Yeah.
have the other side of the coin, which is still only one in two houses are actually you're getting paid on.
It should be a good market. It should be a good market if you're doing your job properly.
It's a good market for the agents that are pricing right.
Yeah.
And let's just remind ourselves of the magic overvaluing stat. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. The gospel according to 20 EA. Okay, is this. Here we go. If a property has a sale agreed on it within 25 days, the chances of that sale getting through to exchange is 19 out of 20, 94%. If a sale takes more than 100 days to achieve, the chances of that sale subsequently getting to exchange and completion come all the way down from 19 out of 20 to 1 in 2, just over 1 in 2, at 54%.
Yep. And when I said at the beginning, yeah, imagine, consider how you can load these stats. That this is, unarguable data. Imagine how you can load this into your market appraisal process. If you put that in front of a client and ask them if they, do you? Clients always talk, should we test the market? Should we test it at a higher point? There's no harm, is there? Well, statistically, yes, there is. And shouldn't your sellers be aware of that? You should be educating them and helping them to understand the vagaries of this market.
Excellent. Let's move on. Resi sell-through rate. Resi sell-through rate is what percentage of the houses that you had on the market on your books in July, because we always do this a month in arrears, did estate agents sell? And they sold 15.37%, so just under 1 in 6. Okay. So 1 in 6 homes are shifting on your pipeline, and you can see on your sales available stock. And you can see here that we had the drop in 2020, obviously. And then, again, if you'd have asked most estate agents what percentage of homes of your sales stock were you shifting in the crazy years of 2021, I think most people would say 70, 80%, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
you can see here it wasn't. I think
Yeah.
only just nipped into 30s some months. So that's interesting. Let's
Yeah.
just remind that this is just again another stat, okay? The difference between the properties coming onto the market, asking price, and the asking price of the properties that go to sale agreed. Now we don't know what the house is sold for. However, again, for those of you who watch the show, I always quote the Hamptons in stat that's been going around since 2006, 2007, where they analyze the asking price of when the property left the portal versus versus the price on land reg. And apart from 2020 and 2021, that number is always between 1 and 2% below the asking price. It never changes. Never changes. And you can see here that it goes up. There's some seasonality to that, up and down, up and down, up and down. And again, for those that watch the show on a regular basis, this lump here is London. Everyone puts their houses on the market in London in the first 2 weeks in September. So expect that to jump back up in a couple of weeks' time, ladies and gentlemen. And again, that's just again in a visual format there, that the green line is the average listing price bars and the turquoise is the average sale price. So again, you notice here that the average sale price has remained pretty static.
Yeah.
Again, we show this, we're all over the show today, but nothing wrong with that.
That's how I like it.
Okay, so I measure house prices by pound per square foot. I know no one else does, but I don't care. I say that nicely. What I do know is this, that orange line here is matches the land registry 5 months in advance. So if you want to know what's going to happen to the land registry, just follow that orange line and then just forward it. And I do sometimes publish the graph where I put the land reg figure and the push back 5 months. I put it against the orange line, and there is a 98% correlation using the Pearson coalition coefficient, or whatever it's called. I can never say that word. So what that's basically, ladies and gentlemen, for lay men and lay women watching this, is this: the orange line is telling you what's happening to house prices. Ignore the red line; it's the orange line 5 months in advance. Okay, so house prices generally are a couple of percent more than they were last year, but if that, I think it's about 1.6, something like that. Oh, we're all over the place today. It's making it different, isn't it? Right.
It's good. I'm enjoying the hopping around.
Okay, so as I said, sales falling through. We've already done this 5,000. Right. Okay. Yep, we've done the fall throughs. Let's move on. Net sales 19,268. Year to date, 646,000, which is 10.6% ahead of, we've clipped the graph there, 10.6 ahead of 17, 18 and 19, and 5.7% ahead of last year's, which again, 46, 36, 36, 35. So an extra 35,000 exchanges will come into the bottom line so far this year. Okay. I think this year, again, these stats don't include new homes. I think we'll end up on about 1.8, 1.18, 1.19 transactions. Okay, so just making you aware. That's my thoughts on that. And that does include new homes. This is the UK net resi net sales on a graph, and the 2025 is the white line. And you can see here that it's all pretty much very similar to what it was. Okay, there we go. You can see there.
It's very consistent.
Okay, and
again, very reliable.
And that's the thing, is that steady as she goes is what you want as an estate agent. You don't need any spikes,
It absolutely is. We've come through enough markets recently where there's been some excuse for either sellers or buyers to feel nervous, whether that's stamp duty cliff edges, whether it's threats of a crash or a boom, and at the moment it's just calm waters, isn't it? It's calm waters, and no one's got an excuse not to go in, which is exactly what you want as an estate agent.
Because magic thing, ladies and gentlemen, it's all about confidence, the C word. Okay, we've done net sales. This is gross sales as a percentage of listings this week, and price changes as a percentage of listings. Again, I don't know if a lot of you like to see that. And I think that is all the graphs. So anything you want to say before we go to Bournemouth?
Oh, I think that just from me, it's the main takeaway from that from me was, as an agent, do you want your client to have a 19 in 20 chance of selling their home, or do you want them to have a 1 in 2 chance of selling their home? And the data tells us that really comes down to pricing and whether or not you have to reduce the value of your home. So really do consider that and talk to your client about it when you discuss pricing strategy with them, because the temptation is to go high, but actually in reality that might be doing them a disservice.
Indeed. Right. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let us now go to Bournemouth. Right, ladies and gentlemen, we are using a bit of kit called Insight. Insight is from the firm 20EA. They have a number of platforms, one of which, as I said, is Insight. Insight is a bit like Rightmove Plus on steroids. And not only does it the issue with Rightmove Plus is that it's limited with its data and its analysis, but only looks back at the year plus 1 month, if memory serves me well. This looks at 5 years plus the year that we are in. So we can have a really great analysis of where you are in the marketplace compared to your competitors. The Insight platform comes in a number of packages from 20EA, and I must stress to you that 20EA have not paid me to highlight this package. They do give me this Insight away to me for free, on the understanding that I use the data for the show at the start and also to highlight the package here now. So if this is the sort of thing that flicks your switch, do not mention my name if you are contacting them, because I'm not on commission. They have a number of packages. They have a free version, which only goes back 3 months, if memory serves you well, on your postcodes. And then there is a paid for version with one on your town, one on your region, and one nationally. The one on your town is the price of probably, depending on how hungry you are, price of a takeaway or a couple of takeaways. So, in my opinion, it's a damn good value for money. And just, if you are a stats person like myself, then I think it's absolutely fantastic. Okay, so without further ado, let us dive in and have a look at where we are. Okay. So mainly we're going to look at mostly residential sales because there's a lot more data on that. We will be looking at lettings in a second. Okay. We are looking at the postcode districts of BH1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. And I do know that in Bournemouth there is central Bournemouth, and then there's lots of sub little baby kind of roll into the same towns, but we're not covering Poole here. Okay. We're going to start off with new instruction. Again, Toby, just come in if you see something that catches your eye, or we'll just, well, you've done this before, so you know.
Yeah. Sure.
So we're going to start off with new instructions, and again, let's just kick off. The 36,609 properties have come onto the market in those postcodes since the 1st of January 2020. The average price of a property that's come onto the market is 357,856. So when we go down and look at the individual agents, by looking at their average price, it will give us a flavour of where their standing is in the marketplace. So if they're higher than 357, I always like to use the supermarket analysis. If they're higher, then they're obviously going to be more Marks and Spencers, your Selfridges, and maybe even Harrods. And then if they're lower, they're going to be more your Morrisons, Asda, and Lidl's. And there's nothing, they're all great supermarkets, and whether your price is up or down, it's irrelevant. But again, just a great way of just comparing and contrasting and seeing where you stand in the marketplace. So without further ado, let's just have a quick look. So in the month of July, 611 properties came onto the market in the Bournemouth area. And as you can see here, that's slightly lower than it was last year at 621, but much higher than what was happening in 2021, where 463 properties came onto the market. So you've got the dates here, and you've got the new instructions here. But it's obviously not nowhere near as much as it was in July 2020, when we had that absolutely massive uplift. And again, ladies and gentlemen, you can do your postcodes here, but also if I wanted to, but I'm not now, I could just change this and do it for what particular type of property. And again, I can change my pricing here. This particular graph here shows you the split of those listings. And again, I can change the new instructions to fallen through, exchange, price changes, relisted, sale, agreed, withdrawals. So the data is just truly amazing. And you can get a flavor for the graphs and the weighting of the graphs. But I know you're all keen because the estate agents love to measure each other, measure their what's names against each other. And we'll start off with Myers. And let's have a look here. So you can see here that the market share in 2020 was around the 7 to 10% mark on average. It had a cracking month there. I don't know what that particular month there was. That was March 21, and then dipped down, and then we've been bouncing between 5 and 7% all the way through. Okay, let's go down and look at Palmer Snell. Bit of a spike. We did see that spike there. And just check, is Palmer Snell part of country tunnel sequence? Can you just check that for me? Because that's a December spike. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, just have a quick look. We'll come back to Palmer Snell. Goldsby's, which are a regional player, I believe they're still independently owned. And it shows there that basically they are hovering, looks like they have good months and bad months. And it looks like, and again, this is just those postcodes. I believe they have a number of branches in Bournemouth. So it looks like towards the end of 21, they had a growth going into 2022. But what it does look like there is that the market share in the greater Bournemouth area seems to be slipping a bit from around 5 or 6% to now near around 3.5–4%. So I don't know what's going on at Goldsby's there. Again, I'm not criticising, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just giving you the cold, hard facts. Let's go and look.
Going back to Palmer Snell, Chris, you're quite right. They are part of Countrywide.
So again, what you tend to find, well, there you go, here we go. What you
Yeah.
tend to find with countrywide Connell sequence groups properties is that they have their Boxing Day promotion. So we have them what we call the December spike. So it looks like they had an amazing spike there, okay, in 21. Let's just go through. Didn't have particularly a big spike in
No.
22. There's a spike. And again, normally the spikes are a bit more pronounced. Maybe they would be if it wasn't for that huge spike at the back end of 21.
Mm.
Let's go and look at Hearns. So, oh, look, again, let's just remind ourselves 357, Myers 376, Palmer Snell 299, Goadsby's 363. So, very similar. Hearns
Yeah.
500. So, they're more of
Premium market.
Marks and Spencers.
Yeah.
We will look at the upper quartile in a second, ladies and gentlemen. That's quite nice and steady, actually, isn't it?
It is a couple of little downturns there, but blips
I
because
think they're Christmas.
again, that's Christmas, isn't it? Yeah. So
Yeah.
otherwise, very consistent.
Looks like they're sticking onto their stock and then bumping it up the next month.
Yeah.
On with that. Right, what we got next? Winkies. Okay, again, it's pretty consistent, but again, very feast and famine there.
It is.
Um,
Yeah, it all averages out, but it's a bit hectic that line. It's up and down an awful lot, but I'm sure there's good reason for that.
okay, average price 388. Looks like you're having a not brilliant August there, guys at Winkworth. So I hope you turn that one around. Okay, Slades. Yeah, okay, look, there's some growth there. Not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
House and Son. Decent growth in 21, 22, but
Yeah.
easing back in 24. Okay. MK Estates. Growth.
Yeah. That's heading in the right direction. That's good.
Richard Godsoul dipped down in 21, but looks like pulling things back a bit. Fox and Sons, I do know that they are part of the Countrywide group.
Again, heading upwards.
That's good. That's really, yeah.
That's
You tend to
impressive
find
growth.
those funnel sequences that they tread water very well, that they don't tend to be drifting off. But well done. So we've got some good team there. Enfields, I believe they're a franchise part of the TFP group. Nice growth there. Corbin and Co. Connells. We got the Crystal Spikes. Yeah, we've got Spikes. Clark's Estate Agents. Mr.
Steady.
Green.
Yeah.
Okay. Brown and K. Not bad growth. Austin Wyatt. Growth. Lovett's.
Bit of a drop off.
Yeah. Okay. PB. Okay. That's very similar to what's happening nationally. Blackstone. Oh, there we go. We'll go down to 25. Avenue Estate.
Heading in the right direction.
Okay. Okay, Maze, what's happening there, guys and girls?
Yeah.
Down again, Derek J. Rolls, downward direction, Churchfields, Martin. Okay, we'll go down to 30.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, right. Okay. Right, let's see who the main players are in the upper quartile.
It's an awfully crowded market. I mean, we said before that Bournemouth, we managed to establish it's a large town. And it is a crowded market there, so an awful lot of agents who are performing quite steadily, but there's obviously a bit of room for growth there, and it looks like it's having a knock-on effect as others are tailing off. But looks a very competitive scene in Bournemouth. So I'd say if you're a Bournemouth agent, you need to be on your A game if you're going to grow in that market.
Yeah, there's like the reason I'm moving this is that I'm getting rid, ladies and gentlemen, of the COVID months. You tend to screw the figures up a bit and make the graph not particularly brilliant. You'll see one in a second when it kicks in. Go on there, that's better. So not so many properties for sale, and it looks like that Hearns are the agents. But I'll tell you here and now, well done for Mayers being at number 2. It's really hard work being an upper quartile agent at number 1 volume and upper quartile as well. So really impressed with that. But again, it looks like a tough old market. Let's just move this band to 1 million. Let's just see who the posh agent is.
Yeah, it should be a fair few in Bournemouth, I would have thought.
Okay. I mean, it's not the Sandbanks. We haven't got. I don't believe.
Not quite.
Okay, so it looks like Hearns are the mummies and daddies of the posh bit. Okay, so again, interesting.
Nearly 20% market share is impressive.
But again, if you just have a quick look, let's just do the 2 million, the 1 million to 2 million mark,
Mm.
and yeah, there you go. Hearns seem to be the agent of choice. Okay,
Yep.
like them. Right, let's just get rid of that, and we will just. I'm just going to see if there's any new agents coming up that just need mentioning since January the 1st. Let's have a look. Have we got any EXPs or anyone like that? No. Oh, EXP, there you go.
There
Well
we
done.
go.
Okay, but okay, so it doesn't look like there's any new self-employed agents that I can see. House and Son, what were they doing? And look at that.
Oh, they've had a good
Yeah.
3 months,
Mm.
especially. Yeah.
When you consider, look, if we move this, let's just look at, since the 1st of July. There you go. So
Mm.
Mayors seem to be doing well, but quite impressed with House and Sons. There you go. Right then, let's move on. Stock levels. So let's have a look there. So on the 31st of July, there was 3,592 properties for sale compared to 1,637 at the end of July 2022. So again, there is a near doubling. Well, there is more than a doubling of. And this is particularly interesting. I've noticed this is nationally the number of properties for sale compared to the bottom of where if you recall that purple graph, the growth is approximately 70-80%, but that's well over 100%.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and I'm seeing that in a lot of towns at the moment, especially on the south coast. For some reason, the number of properties for sale. There are some towns in Sussex who have just as many houses for sale today than there was in the post-financial crash.
Wow. Really?
Yeah, which and it only seems to be happening on the south coast.
Yeah. Well, I guess these southern coast towns, so home counties areas. We mentioned earlier what's happening in London, and they're going to be. I'm not sure if Bournemouth is on the commuter belt or not, but it's probably not far off. So
It's a bit of a trek. I,
it's a bit of a trek.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I don't think I wouldn't be certainly be going on. And we're not talking posh. Those are taxi trains either. It's a posh sugar. No, no, I wouldn't want to be commuting. It's at least it's a couple, a good an hour and a half, if not a bit more, if memory says, and even possibly two. No, I just think it seems to be a coastal thing.
Yeah.
That's because again, I analysed that. Okay, let's move on to my favourite part of the show. Okay, what have we got here? Now, there's a lot of data here, and if you're watching this on a phone, you won't be able to see this. But pardon me, what's going on here? So we are looking at the last year, 19th of August 24 to the 18th of August 2025. We're not looking at the number of new instructions you've had or the new instruction market share, nor the sale agreed figures. We're ignoring them. The true magic, is in those four boxes there, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. You see, if you add up the exchange percentage to the withdrawal percentage, that will add up to 100%. So what that is, and so therefore we know that with mayors that 242 plus 268 properties, so that would be 510 properties. 242 plus 268 is 510. 510 properties have left Myers books in the last 12 months, of which 242 or 47.45 of them have exchange contracts. Okay, so the agent's been paid on 47.45, and the agent and the homeowner and 268 or 52.5 have withdrawn unsold, which means the agent hasn't been paid and the homeowner hasn't been moved. This is, in my humble opinion, the most important statistic there is as an estate agent, which is, did you sell the house or not? I don't know what you think, what your thoughts are on that, but is that I think it's the most important stat there is.
I think it's been a little bit of a running theme of the show, the principle of actually managing to sell, as opposed to just listing. And you want to be the agent who sells. And so being able to use this data to position yourself as an agent who not just lists a property on Rightmove, but actually sells your clients' homes, that's the most important thing of all. And so it's going to be quite interesting to see how that pans out in Bournemouth. But yeah, certainly if you come out on top of this, you're definitely going to want to use that in your market appraisals and in your marketing, because there's nothing more important to your client than can you sell their home.
Absolutely. So you're so right. So right. Right. Okay. So let's just look at the stats. So therefore, in the top 10, there is agents there that will sell less than 4 out of 10 houses. And there are agents on there that will sell nearly 6 out of 10 houses. That's a massive difference.
Mm.
Okay, let's just have a quick look at all the others. So look at Enfields. So if I was Enfields and I was up against someone else like Palmerston,
Yep.
say Palmerston have just over a 1 in 4 chance of selling your house, whilst we have a 2 in 3 chance of selling a house, or 6 out of 10 sounds more impressive.
Yeah.
Well, actually, nearly 7 out of 10, and that's where data doesn't lie. Data's fact.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, the average in the town is 47%. Roberts at 60. Yeah.
That is, I mean, oh God, we've got someone who's topped 70%, slightly lower down the list there. Where we are, yeah, Churchfield estate
Yeah.
agents.
Well done, Churchfield.
Absolutely. And, in terms of from a marketing perspective, that is absolute gold to be able to say that the average in your area is 47%, but you're selling 70% of the homes you list. That is absolute gold dust when it comes to marketing. It's so compelling to be able to put that in front of a client.
Now, the way you put it in front of clients is really, really important, okay? Because if you put it across in the wrong way, you will be sued. Okay? It is as simple as that, okay? If anyone wants any help or guidance on that, on either to improve your stats or on how to publish it, then do give me a shout. My mobile telephone number is 07950 147 572. That is my daytime job. However, I will also recognise is that there is a wonderful man called Simon Gates who can also do something very similar. He is a competitor of mine, but he's also a friend of mine. And I think it's only fair that I give you one of my competitors' telephone numbers if by using data. Because, ladies and gentlemen, my daytime job is I use property data to attract landlords and vendors to your agency. Now, of course, if you don't want any more rental properties on your books or attract more homeowners to your agency, then obviously ignore me. But if you do want to chat, give me a call, because I can only work for one agent per town and I don't have a client in Bournemouth. So if you want to find out what I could do for you and how I presently help myself and my 4 other members of our team, we are helping in excess of 120 agents grow their businesses, and most of my clients have been with me for over 6 or 7 years. So hopefully, touch wood, must be doing something right. But of course, if you're very happy with your number of listings and you're very happy with your rental portfolio, just ignore me. Anyway, give us a call without any obligation. Right, let's just move on. Let's see who is sales are falling through. So the average is 30% of houses are falling through. Pretty average there, and I think there's no one sticking out like a sore thumb. All talent is gorgeous, but I would expect that there wouldn't be much. But again, if you want that into single digits, reservation agreements. Gazelle,
Instruct your solicitors.
yeah, Gazelle are very, very, very good. Others are available, but just type in the word reservation agreements. And if you're not, and if you can say, well, my valuers don't get it, well, train them, and that's the wonderful thing. Okay. And Gazelle, I know, will help, but as I said, others will help as well. Okay, let's move on. Let's just see which next one is overvaluing. So, yeah, let's move on. Okay, a lot of data here, ladies and gentlemen, but there is some beautiful gold in here, and without hesitation, let's crack on. So, mayors, let's be frank, weren't the best. They were, okay, above the average, but there are competitors like Hearns that actually do, and Goatsby's, that have a greater chance of. So, let's just, in terms of do you get the house sold, but let's just also, the price you achieve is also important. So what is the orange line? Now, again, I'll take this nice and slow because there's a lot happening here. So 20EA have looked at all of your exchanges in the last 2 years. That's step one. Step two, they looked at the date you put the house onto the market. Step three, they then analysed what this is 20EA, thought the house was worth on the day of listing. Their automated valuation model figure, like a Valpal figure, but their own. And then they reference that against what you put it on the market for. And then they've taken the average of that. So, for instance, with Myers is that the average over value of the homes that eventually ending up exchanging. So not the stuff that you value put on the market and withdrew. So remember, let's just remind ourselves, we're using Myers as an example. They only exchanged on 47 or 242. This is in the last year. So in the last 2 years of the ones that they've exchanged on, the average uplift between what you put it on the market for and what they thought it was worth was 2.11%. You could say, well, what about the AVM model? It's a pretty damn good AVM model. But even if it's not perfect, they're applying the same model to all the other houses in Bournemouth. So it's apples with apples. So you can see here that Winkworths are in the top 5, in the top 10, only overvalued by 1.1. House and Sons, who we did like, only overvalued by 0.75. And then we've got the 3 big boys and girls, Mayors at 2.11, 2.1 for Palmerston, and 2.09 for Hearns. Okay, here we go. So, what price did you achieve eventually at completion on the land registry against the, and this is the magic word, original asking price? Not the what you reduced it down to, your original asking price. So therefore, if everyone put on the same house, what would you actually achieve for it? So the average overvaluing in Bournemouth is 1.67% here, and the average drop from the average asking price is 4.18%. Okay. So if you want to know what your effective rate is, you take this figure here, 3.16 from 2.11. But again, it's percentages and people don't get it, or not very good with it, especially vendors. People don't like so, but they do know pound notes. So therefore, we move on to this bit here. If everybody put on a £400,000 house, what would everybody achieve for it? And Mayors would achieve 395,496, which is £5,805 more than the average Bournemouth agent. So you could say in your marketing, Mayors, we will achieve £5,805 and 15 pence more than the average Bournemouth estate agent. House and Son can say we will achieve £7,024 and 45 pence than the average Bournemouth estate agent. And you can see all the numbers on there, and you can see how your numbers relate. That's pretty powerful stuff, isn't it?
That's very powerful, yes. And it's funny how you can play with the data. The previous screen obviously showed that, I think I'm right in thinking that, Mayors percentage of exchanged versus withdrawn.
47.
It was actually about on average for the.
It's on average. I mean, let's be honest. Hearns,
It's better.
Yeah, it's better. And
It's better. But it goes to show that mayors are doing a good job when it comes to negotiating, when it comes to the money, when it comes to getting value for the homes. So for mayors, that helps you to home in on where to focus your marketing, where to focus your selling points to your clients, and it's here. It's on the value that you achieve for your client.
Now, we'll just say for the record that this is the whole market. So therefore, those agents who tend to specialise more in the upper end do get penalised on this screen. So therefore, if I was an agent in the upper end, there are ways to use this form which basically remove the lower end properties to show that you are actually the better agent. So if memory says, well, Hearns are a up middle or a Waitrose sort of agent. So therefore, there's a way that you can use this form. You change a few parameters, and it will show you just the properties in the posh price range, and then it will apply the percentages just to the exchanges in that posh price range. So again, if you're Hearns or Goldsby's and you're wondering, well, that doesn't make me look good. No, it's not going to make you look good. And that's because you're looking at whole market. If you just look at your own core market, it does work. So again, give us a shout if that's of interest to you. If it's not of interest, just ignore me. All right. Okay, let's move on. Who sells the houses the quickest? Corbyn and Co. 61. So the average is 85 days to get from new instruction to sale agreed. Last year it was 75. Okay. Well, Mayors, they take 102 days to get a property to sell it from new instruction to sale agreed. And let's just look at Goldsby's. They were 80 days. Let's just sit now. But again, I think what we've got here is this. I reckon Goldsby's, because look, 92 days from sale agreed to completion, and look, it's 119 days. I've got a sneaky feeling Goldsby's don't mark their property sold with the contract till probably surveys done or a little bit further in the process.
Yep.
Because it's fun, obviously, here that in terms of the overall, Goldsby's are the agent if you want to sell your house quicker.
Yep.
Whilst Winkworths and Mayors, look, the whole time here, look, new instruction to completion 173 days, whilst Mayors 226. So therefore, Goldsby's will get you in your house 2 months quicker than Mayors.
They're either doing something incredible, or they're not quite on the same playing field.
But again, we probably dealing with different price ranges, different properties. But again,
Yeah.
Okay, right. Let's move on. Lettings. Okay. So the average rent in Bournemouth in roughly 2020 was 1,071, and the average rent, just do that now. Well, we'll just move that. There we go. 1,221. But it looks like there's some student spikes in here. Let me explain that, ladies and gentlemen. I'll just wait for it to sort itself out. Come on. Here we go. Come on. There we go. Right. Are these student spikes?
Certainly looks possible.
Yeah, these look like, I believe they're student spikes. Okay, so what you tend to find, those who don't watch the show, is this. Most of the student properties tend to come on in either October, November, and December. And those do look like what we call student spikes, where whether the agent just dumps all the houses on the market. Right, let's just analyze. So let's go to open rent. Wow.
I mean, open rent. We know that open rent is a national story, and there's so many reasons why landlords are looking to them. Landlords are being pinched through taxation, through mortgage upheavals, through concern over incoming legislation. So the flow to manage their own properties has been insatiable recently. We know that about half of the properties that come onto open rent were previously listed with a high street agent.
Yeah,
and
50%.
Yeah.
Scary.
Yeah, so unbelievable, and a clear demonstration of the challenges that there are for high street letting agents at the moment. A lot of challenges they've faced, not just that movement of landlords to sell up, which we're expecting post Renters' Rights Bill, but also the movement of landlords to self-manage because they want to cut costs, because their bottom lines are being pinched.
Because a lot of people think there's fewer rental properties in the sector now than there were 3 years ago. Ladies and gentlemen, this is going to shock you. There's more. It's just that most of them have gone to open rent.
Yeah.
Why have they gone to open rent?
Because it's cheap. Because it's cheap. I'm afraid that a lot of landlords believe in their ability to self-manage, and many letting agents, I'm sure, will roll their eyes in recognition at this. But what we frequently see with self-managing landlords is I'll do it myself until it goes wrong approach. Because let's face it, landlords are far less profitable than they used to be. So they want to try to take steps to address that. So they cut out the professional management service. So then they manage their own properties until it goes wrong. And we do know that a great many landlords who self-manage do have the skills and knowledge to do that, but many of them do not. And they will happily bumble along for years without any problems. But when it goes wrong, that's when they normally bounce back to the agent. But we have seen this flow of landlords deciding to self-manage in recent times, and this is the main reason why. It is a financial decision rather than a decision based on their own capabilities, and that is purely down to the changes in the sector recently, the increased taxation, the extra mortgages that they'll be paying since mortgage rates increased, and just that feeling the pinch in general.
Okay, but again, I mean, ladies and gentlemen, one thing that Toby does very, very well is that he can parachute into an agency and he can train and develop your staff. He can even actually become a fractional lettings director as well. I know you offer that service as well. And he's only just up the road in Bath, I don't know whether you're a Bath or Bath person. And if you want some help and guidance with your team on how to stop the rot, then he's your man, because he's exceptional. Really, really good. Right.
What I would say quickly, Chris, is looking at this huge proportion of landlords who are deciding to self-manage. Letting agents, you have a wonderful opportunity right now, and that opportunity is called the Renters' Rights Bill, because all of those landlords who have chosen to self-manage in recent times are now faced with complicated reforms that they don't fully understand and they're going to need help with. So assert yourself as your local expert, the person who landlords go to for help, and you will secure more managed landlords by doing that once the reforms
And
come
basically,
through.
what you do, ladies and gentlemen, is you create local property market content on Bournemouth property market, what's happening to rents, what's happening to yields, that sort of thing. And then you post that out into local Facebook groups, because 50-60% of Bournemouth landlords will have a BN postcode, and you just chuck that out. You can even do to cover the landlords that don't live locally, get a Rightmove banner, featured agent, and put that into on the sales side, not the lettings, on the sales side, because most landlords search for properties, have Rightmove alerts on properties they have Rightmove alerts with postcodes of the properties they have on the streets they own. So when a property comes up, they all open up, and then little featured agent, and it says, "Do you want to know what's happening in the Bournemouth rental market at the moment? Question mark. Click here to come onto the Bournemouth property blog." You click on it, it takes you to a blog, and it gives you all the content about the rental market and what's happening. If you need to write that, then give me a call. If not, write it yourself. But that's what you need to be doing, becoming the local expert, not just another letting agent, because there's plenty of them out there, but there's only one guru. Here we go. We said about the fact that there is a student population. Look, there's the growth. Look at October. They're huge compared to those. Right, let's just have a whiz round down the list. Let's look at Enfields. So it's quite obvious that Enfields are heavy on their student lets.
Mm-hmm.
Leaders, Goadsby's seem to be dropping. Looks like you could do with some more landlords. House and Son, that's not bad. I'm quite
Ever so slightly inclined upwards there.
Yeah. McConnell Property Group,
And oh wow,
obviously students.
yep,
Total.
big student spikes.
Roberts, you tend to be slipping. Palmer Snell, growing. Well done.
Very good.
Winkworths. Okay, a bit of a
bit of a
growth there.
dip, but a bit of growth afterwards.
Frost and Co. Martin and Co.
Bit of growth there. And any letting agent who is finding growth in this market, you're doing a good job, because it's not easy. And a lot of these trends that's heading down slightly, as is that one. So it does, and that demonstrates just how challenging the lettings market is right now. So if your trends are on an upward trajectory, good job. It's not easy right now, and you're doing the right things. But yeah, if you are dropping off, then as Chris has just been saying, you need to be proactive in finding new landlords. Long gone are the days where you sit back and you wait for landlords to come to you. You've got to be very proactive in asserting yourself as the local expert.
Good stuff. Right. Okay. Final thoughts from you, mate.
talk to your clients, use this data that Chris is making available to you, use it in your market appraisal process, use it before your market appraisal process. Let the data tell the stories that you need to be realistic with pricing if you want to sell. The consequences of not being realistic with your pricing and overpricing are quite drastic. And as far as lettings is concerned, I think that little snapshot we've just seen there has really accurately summed up the market. It's challenging. You had to be proactive, you had to be creative, you had to be bold in the lettings market.
Toby, exceptional as always. We'll get you back in about 3 months' time when it's
Yes,
your turn
please.
again. Exceptional as always. Thank you for your insight.
Thank you very much.
More importantly, thank you for watching the show. We'll see you next week for week 33 of the UK Property Market Stats Show, where we'll be going to a different town. And thank you very much. See you on.